An entitled parent tried to force me into caring for her child for the foreseeable future. Back in the late 2000s, I was hired by my aunt to take care of my cousin since she was about a year old to help her, as she was then a single mother with a very career-driven mind. Her parents got divorced because the mother worked too much. It just so happens that she likes her job and would even work from home. Her father was a layabout, barely could keep a job if he ever bothered finding one, but he was her high school sweetheart, so she didn't really care because she enjoyed having him around in some kind of eye candy fashion, at least at first, because 5 years of laying about did cause him to inflate in every possible direction. They started to grow even further apart because my aunt would work and her husband would not do any work, including child rearing or cleaning, but thought that my aunt would stop working that hard so he could just be a lazy person. Not really a good role model, to be honest. When my aunt got divorced, she still had to work, but she had her baby to take care of. I was about 12, 13 when I first got offered quite the generous pay, double the minimum wage back in the days, so about $16 an hour at the time, to help take care of my baby cousin while her mother worked in the other room, plus the promise that my college and university would be paid for by my aunt. So, being the little opportunist I was, I thought, great. Now, I was too young to believe I would need to get all this in writing, so I am perfectly aware now that I should never trust anyone's word that easily because we are related. I was arguably mature for my age, but most of my work was simply to change the baby and feed her from 4 until 10, so my aunt could work without being interrupted, and take a nap so she could then take care of the baby. I had my own room set up at her place, and often would simply spend my time studying or playing video games when my cousin was not calling for care. Keep in mind, this was not unusual in my family. We are tightly knit. We learned soon after that the father had skipped town. To this day, he hasn't come back, not even once. I was kept in the dark for a year or two, but I was told later. I was my cousin's dedicated babysitter/nanny most of her life. When I was done with high school, my aunt even offered me more money, so I would take care of her longer, and when she started school, I helped her with her homework. Then things got a bit weird. The older she got, the less available my aunt became for her events. So I started filling in for her. Recitals? I went with her. Parent-teacher conferences? I went. I was about 20-something by that point. I would pick her up from her play dates, no questions asked. But then my aunt went back against her word. I wanted to go to college, get my degree or something. She said, no, you have to be available to take care of your cousin. I explained to her that I would still be able to help out after school, but I would be just a bit busier, and my schedule might change. She completely blew up and teared me a new one. She screamed at me in ways I never expected her to, especially since we had such a good relationship for the past 7 years. She told me I was selfish, told me that my cousin relied on me and that I should be grateful for the opportunity of helping her raise her child. I tried to reason with her, but she got even angrier. And then she slapped me across the face and told me she wouldn't pay me one time for the college or university, that I would come to take care of her child and that's that, because that's what family does. I pretended to agree because I was simply terrified of her at that point and knew enough stories not to try and reason with her, and just left for the evening, just imagining having those big green eyes bloodshot from rage glaring down at you with the heaviest breathing you could imagine. This is what I was opposed to. I went to my mother, then to my father, then told them the story. I was about 20 already, but never has anybody raised their hand on me, at least in my family. My father and mother have been divorced, but when they heard the story, in a united front that would only be accompanied by the Avengers theme song, they went to my aunt. According to my mom, my aunt thought that since I did not go to college right away, she believed that in some twisted perception of the world, I would take over as my cousin's paternal figure and stick around to raise her kid with her. This was beyond the comprehension of me, my father, or my mother. She was told that she was not allowed to see me anymore and that she could start considering childcare services from now on. Now, I love my cousin. I can safely say that my affection for her is somewhat akin to one of a parental figure, as I saw her grow from a baby to an adorable child that she is today. But in absolutely no way was I ever picturing myself being their parent, or that I would have to take care of her until she was old enough to move out. After that, my aunt had the gall to make a phone call and make me speak to my cousin. My cousin, being around 7 years old then, was crying on the phone and asking me if it was true that I didn't want to see her anymore and that I hated her. I asked her if her mom was around. She said yes. I told her that she was family and that no, I did not hate her. I told her that I wanted to go to school like her so I could become smarter, and told her she can call her aunt, who's my mom, whenever she misses me, and I would make time to see her at my mother's place. This apparently comforted her and enraged her mother because she picked up the phone and screamed at me some more. I hung up. Today my cousin is a bit older. We don't see each other as much anymore, but she still calls me every week or so. I don't speak to her mother anymore, but she apparently changed quite a lot after the events. She went to therapy after the events and actually ended up reducing her work hours to take care of her child. She is growing up healthy and loved. She sometimes calls me dad whenever I sound patronizing on the phone or in person. Even more often learning the whole story from me, my mother and father, and my aunt own up to it all. No matter the past, she is today one of the dearest people to my heart, and she is always welcome around me. My friends are the ladies in my life because she truly is a sweetheart. My aunt, however, never called me to apologize or to make amends. She never made good on her word, so I never believed that she ever truly accepted the fact that I was not wrong. I do not attend events where I might run into her, and I spend Christmas with my friends instead of spending it with my family these days anyway. My family is not as tightly knit as it used to be, and if I ever agree to take care of her child, I demand payment in advance. Yeah, if I was this guy, I would never work for that lady ever again. I mean, what a terrible parent. They legitimately wanted to push their kid off on somebody else to literally raise them, all at the expense of this person not being able to have, I don't know, a future of some kind. They wanted them to stay out of university just to raise their kid. That's a whole nother level of abuse that I can't even possibly comprehend. I feel sorry that this story went down the way it was, and I genuinely wish this person the best of luck moving forward.
The full version of this video is on the Am I the Jerk YouTube channel, so check the link in the description for it. And if there are any updates to this story, that's where they'll be. There is also a podcast version of this show on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever you use. Just search Am I the Jerk. It's perfect for those of you guys that use Spotify or whatever platform you want to listen to podcasts while you're driving or on the bus or drawing or planning to take over the world. So go check out the Am I the Jerk and Am I the Genius podcasts on any of those platforms.